Well, thank you. Good morning, everyone. I hope that the weather's actually the weather's been pretty nice. Just to let you know, really briefly, my name's Rick Joseph. I was here last year. I came and gave a presentation to everyone and was invited back. So thank you very much for that. Really appreciate it. I decided this year that I wanted to actually discuss not just Medicare, but in general, the coordination between what I refer to as retiree plans, so people who worked for the state of Washington, something that I know that I need to update my information about, federal employees, okay, people who worked for the federal government, military retirees, and the way that those benefits work when you are enrolled with Medicare as well. And I think sometimes that becomes a part of the confusion. We talk about Medicare. I know that around this time of the year as well, we're all being bombarded with lots of information because it happens to be one of the ongoing election windows or periods for Medicare as well. But it also happens to be the time that the state of Washington or the federal government or even the military, they all have their open enrollment windows as well. And sometimes a part of the confusion is, what information am I supposed to be looking at? Okay, am I supposed to be looking at this specific thing from the state, or should I be paying attention to the television ads with Joe Namath and all of those other things as well? Okay, so just to let you know, ignore Joe Namath, okay? He's not helpful for you, all right? So we're going to talk about a few things. We're going to talk not just about the medical services that are offered with Medicare, but retiree insurance, and just give a very brief overview about the Medicare program as well. And then we'll talk about the different aspects that go along with that also. I was asked to make sure that I specifically talked about and discussed what we are going to refer to as broker ethics. And the reason I'm talking about that is because we all hear horror stories sometimes about people being taken advantage of by individuals who are supposed to be there to help them. Medicare agents sometimes, right? No, I know, it's awful. Putting people into health plans that they no longer have access to their doctors, or obtaining phone calls from individuals that you're not aware of, and they gather information from you. And next thing you know, you've got adjustments that you really didn't decide that you wanted to, but they've been able to do that. There is a code of ethics that goes along with being an insurance agent and a broker. There's a yearly testing a code of conduct training that you have to take every single year as a Medicare agent. As a broker, and what is the difference? An insurance agent sometimes is an individual who may work for a specific company. And so if they are selling a product to you, they only may have one option to choose from. An insurance broker is a person who has agreements or contracts with numerous insurance companies, and they are working on your behalf. They are going to consult with you, gather your information, and then help you review the best option that's available for you. And so, make sure that you ask the question, are you an agent or are you a broker? Do you work with lots of different companies? And normally, when you work with a broker, they're going to gather your information so that they can then review the market for you and help you decide what your best choices are. But in saying that, sometimes I think that we kind of started this discussion before we got started. There you go. And retiree insurance and Medicare coordination. So sometimes one of the things that people may or may not understand is that, of course it goes off right now, right?
That's the national.
I know, my phone is buzzing as well. I'm just ignoring it. I'll give it just a moment.
Probably even worse than we're on that side.
Oh, right. Is everyone okay? Yeah. Okay. I hope everyone's okay as well. That's great. Retiree insurance. I use the term retiree. Retiree is, and in this aspect, okay, in that a retiree is someone who worked for a company or an organization, the state of Washington. You were a postal worker with the federal government. You worked for the Boeing Corporation. All of those entities, and when you reached age 65, you continue to be able to receive your health benefits from those organizations. Okay? That's what I am discussing as a retiree. Everybody retires and they are a retiree, that's true. But for the sake of our presentation, we are talking about retirees as those individuals who continue to receive benefits from the company or the organization that they worked for prior to becoming eligible for Medicare. Does that make sense? So many times the health plans that you have are going to be secondary to your Medicare coverage. Everybody, when they reach age 65, are allowed to enroll in the federal government's health plan, Medicare. And then you make decisions about how you want to cover the rest of your expenses. So supplemental plans with Uniform Medical that's managed by Regents Blue Shield. Or you may work for the federal government. So Blue Cross and Blue Shield nationwide, that's the organization that managed those benefits for you. If you worked with the military, you were in the military for 20 odd years and you retired, then there's a very special program, TRICARE, that is offered, and they manage your benefits, but you first have to be enrolled in the Medicare program. And then it's going to coordinate those benefits based on the kind of plan that you have as well, which can be what's called fee-for-service. It means that you can use anyone that you want. There is a fixed cost because those companies or those health plan providers have an arrangement with Medicare, and they've agreed to receive whatever Medicare pays for that service. They can't bill you or charge you any more than that, unless you use doctors that do not have a contract. And then they can charge you up to 15% more than whatever those bill charges are. Retiree plans. Someone just mentioned this, and this was great. I think somebody just said to me, you were just asking me. Forgive me, I didn't get your name, ma'am? Kathy, great. So, Kathy said, Rick, what if I decide to leave my uniform medical plan, or I left the plan that is offered to me by the state of Washington? It means that you now are going outside of the state of Washington. Right now, you're inside the state of Washington, right? I know we are, but, you're inside the plans that are offered by the state of Washington retiree plan. So if you ever decided this is way too expensive, I don't like the options, I want to use Humana. Well, Humana is not one of the choices available, so you're going and opting out of the benefits. And if you ever decide to do that, then keep in mind you can never return to the retiree benefits that are offered by the state. So it's always a good idea to take a look at the plan options that are available, that are being presented to you by the state or the federal government or whomever you worked with. Yes, ma'am.
Why is that?
Why is what?
Why can we not return?
It's a rule. It's the rule that they decided to put in place. It's like deciding that you're leaving home and someone says, well, you can never return, kind of thing. But basically, that's it. If you worked as an employee, because of that, the organization extended the coverage and the benefits to you. And because of it, it's almost like being in a closed house, if you will. So as long as you remain within that house, within that structure, you get all of the benefits that are being offered inside of that structure. And if you ever decide to leave it, then the rule is you can't come back to doing that. And that happens for all retiree plans as well. So it's not just for the state. But that's a good question. Thank you. Thank you very much for that. All right, we all know what this is. The federal government started a health plan. It always baffles me that there was nothing in place until 1965. But 1965, the federal government started a health plan for retirees. If you are age 65, you can sign up to begin health coverage. The way that you become eligible is that you either age into the program, age 65. Some people do qualify and they're younger than 65. It's because of disability. You know, they may have some certain diagnosis like Lou Gehrig's disease is what we refer to it as. There may be other types of debilitating disabilities that you may encounter. There is a process that they have to go through, 24 months of ongoing checks with their doctors before all of the information is determined by the federal government, Social Security, that you qualify for Social Security benefits, and Medicare becomes your health insurance coverage as well. We all get a bit confused about this whole Medicare thing, so I'm going to try and do my best to not confuse you anymore, okay? You know, it becomes a great big alphabet soup, right? It really does. There's an A and a B and, you know, D for drugs. And then they named the supplements with a letter as well. And sometimes people are like, what on earth are you talking about? So I'm going to try and do my best. But Part A and Part B, that's what we all know to be a Medicare, or what they sometimes refer to as original Medicare, okay? So your Medicare coverage. Medicare is your health benefits. Part A, if you don't know, when we're working and we're missing money out of our check, you know, some of that money is what pays your Medicare premium for your hospital benefits. First 10 years of your working life, that then automatically allows you to enroll in the Medicare program, okay? And then you decide when you join Medicare to be enrolled in what they call Part B. Part A and Part B together cover all of your benefits for any hospital services or doctor's visits and all of those things. And they also agree to pay 80% of the cost of your services for you. And it leaves you with a gap, that 20%. And for a very long time, Medicare didn't cover or pay for prescription drugs. You paid for those things out of your own pocket. Part B has a monthly premium also. That comes out of your Social Security check. It's about $64.90. It's about to go up this year, folks. Forgive me, but it is going to go up. We've been inflation, right? So it's going to go up this year.
What part of the D does Medicare pay? What percentage?
They pay about 75% of the cost of your prescription drugs up to a very specific threshold. And that threshold for this year is about $4,660. So if you have, the question is, if you didn't hear it, how much does Medicare pay, or what do they put towards the cost of your prescription drugs? About 75% of $4,660. And if you reach that amount during the year, that's when you fall into what's called the donut hole. There is a break in the coverage, and you now become responsible for a greater portion of the cost of your drugs up to another threshold, which is about $7,400. That's the kind of the way it works. Very strange, because we've all been used to just going and having our prescriptions filled. And then when this plan came along, they came up with this idea that they wanted to help as many people as possible. And so, on average, most people spend about $4,600 in drug costs. It's an average. So, of course, yes, ma'am, and more, dependent upon the kinds of medications that you're taking. I beg your pardon? It's outrageously expensive. Yeah, absolutely. All right. So, a couple of choices that you have, remember. You sign up for Medicare, you can buy a supplemental plan. So sometimes Uniform Medical works as your supplemental plan. You know, Premera Blue Cross, that's also a supplemental policy. One of the choices that you also have is to use what's called a Medicare Advantage plan. United Healthcare is a Medicare Advantage plan. Advantage plans, they name those Part C. Okay? If you want to give yourself a way to remember what Part C is, it means that it is a program that includes Part A and Part B of Medicare, and also Part D, your prescription drug plan. It's all combined under one policy. So A plus B plus D is equal to C. If anybody ever asks you and they're like, what is that? That's what that means. It's a private company, United Healthcare, that provide you all of your benefits from Medicare Part A, Medicare Part B, and Medicare Part D. And they combine everything under one program, and they manage the entire thing for you. The reason that they tend to be less expensive than using a supplemental policy is because the federal government pay United Healthcare or any of the other Medicare Advantage plans a set amount of money every single month on your behalf. Here in Washington State, it's about anywhere between $1,000 and $1,200 every month. They use that money to cover all of the expenses for everything that's offered under the plan, but it gives them an opportunity, the company, United Healthcare, an opportunity to offer lots of things that are not covered under original Medicare. So you'll find that these programs include things like, routine vision care or preventive dental benefits, gym membership, transportation benefits, certain things that they'll give you over-the-counter coverage for your Tums and all kinds of things, and it becomes very attractive for people to use those programs. It's not for everyone, but it is one of the choices that's available for you. So just keep in mind how that works and how it would. Talked a little bit about prescription drugs, prescription drug plans. Yes, ma'am.
Did you say it covers some dental benefits?
Sometimes some plans do include dental coverage as well. Yes, ma'am. And so, as you were asking just before we got started, one of the things that you are going to do here in the next couple of weeks when you receive your packet of information is to take a moment to try and look through the summary of benefits that they offer you. So it will explain what's included for the price that they are charging you for that plan. And you may find that, they may have a hearing aid benefit, like I said, a transportation benefit that allows someone to come pick you up and take you to and from your doctor's visits, gym membership, although you've got a fantastic gym here already, so, what do you need that for? But all of those things. The Medicare Prescription Drug Program started in 2006. Again, keep in mind, prescription drugs were not covered under the Medicare program prior to that. There were some supplemental or Medigap policies that had a prescription drug provision, and that was dropped when these plans started because it wasn't equal to or better than the Medicare prescription drug plan. It's voluntary to join these plans. They say it's voluntary because if you have access to the Veterans Administration or maybe a retirement plan that offers prescription drugs, you don't have to sign up for the private Medicare prescription Part D plan. If you don't enroll when you first become eligible, you may have a late enrollment penalty. It is ongoing. It is ongoing. Good question. The question was, is the penalty a one-time penalty? The federal government don't do anything one time. So, if you were to enroll late, then they are going to assess you a late enroll. It's a rolling penalty that you'll pay for as long as you're enrolled. It's pretty incredible. It is. So we're going to talk a little bit about some retiree programs, and I missed one, which I need to make sure I go back and adjust this. So, but the reason I actually came up with these organizations is because when I was here last year, I talked to a number of people who were either state retirees or military retirees, And today, of course, a gentleman who I worked with quite a while ago and didn't realize it, he is a federal retiree, a little bit different than these. And so I missed that, so I'll have to make sure I update my information. But we're going to talk about this. So specifically for those individuals who worked with the state of Washington, you retired from the state of Washington, and you continue to receive your health benefits from them. PEBB, the Public Employees Benefit Board, is what that stands for, or the HCA acronym, the Healthcare Authority, okay? They're the organizations that manage your health benefits for you. And that's the reason I continue to say, normally at the beginning of October, this organization is going to send you your updated 2024 overview of all of the health plans that are available to you. And so for you, it gives you an opportunity to make a decision about whether or not you're going to remain with what you currently have, or if you're going to switch to one of the other plans that they are presenting to you. Because like we just said, you know, it's all in-house. And so you are going to remain in that. Does that make sense to everyone? Yeah? These plans and this information that I went online as I was starting to put my information together, and these happen to be the plan options for 2024 for anyone who is a Medicare state retiree, okay? So you'll notice UMP stands for Uniform Medical Plan. That is the plan that is managed by the state of Washington. Provides fantastic benefits for you, it is second to your Medicare coverage, all right? So works as a supplement to Medicare. It includes your prescription drug plan, so you don't have to buy a separate prescription drug program. It also happens to be, I think, the most expensive option available as well. And that's the reason that every year they provide you with an opportunity to review the other plan options also. So a gentleman earlier was pointing out to me that, you know, he receives care like physical therapy and was looking at the information with Uniform and the number of visits that he could get using that compared to some of the other plans that were available. And it kind of helped him make the decision that he's going to remain with Uniform, even though it happens to be, you know, on the higher end of his budget. And it's something that you do have to make sure that you take into consideration. Now, none of us know what kind of healthcare we're going to need, but if you are in the middle of care and you're a little anxious about doing so, make sure that if you're looking at any of the other plans, take the time to specifically look at how that coverage is going to be provided to you if you decided to switch. Are my doctors a part of the network that I'm looking at? You know, are my medications going to be included in the drug formulary or list with United Healthcare or with Kaiser Permanente if you thought about making those choices as well? And so that's a part of your due diligence. You know, get the names of your doctors, find out if you can speak with someone who can help you check those if you can't do that yourself. Make sure you've got a list of your medications and you have a way to review that those medications are listed on the list or the formulary for the plans that you're looking at. Does that make sense to everyone? Yeah? The United Healthcare option is the Medicare Advantage plan choice that you have. So remember, these are all in-house, right? If you are thinking about switching, then you need to review these specific plans and make the change to one of these programs. I know that we're all being bombarded right now with lots of information from absolutely everywhere, right? And most of you are recycling that stuff, right? Yeah? Remember, the information that you're receiving from all of the companies outside, including United Healthcare, is outside of the house. It's outside of the state of Washington. That's for the general public. For all of those people who didn't work for the state of Washington or for any retiree programs, they're enrolled in Medicare and they're being given the opportunity to review their plan choice, similar to you, make a change if they wish, with those new plan options taking effect January the 1st. So forgive me if I keep reiterating this, but you're making your choices based on the information that you receive from the state of Washington. Yes, ma'am.
So my question has to do with accessibility of the information.
Okay.
How clear is it going to be to us when we look at the information they send us in terms of being able to compare?
That's an excellent question because I know that we had a discussion about that just prior to your being here. And it sounds to me that there isn't a very clear path for you to review the information that you have. The one thing that I did notice when I went online is that they've got some mechanisms online. If you can go online, many of us aren't really excited about going online, and I can totally appreciate that. It becomes sort of fumbly, right? But they do have some mechanisms online that will allow you to compare one plan to another electronically and then review them.
Do you know what those are?
Do I know what?
The mechanisms.
I do, actually. So if you go online, if you want to take a picture of this as well, if you go online, or if there is someone here at Horizon House that can sit down with you and help you navigate through this, the website for the HCA is hca.wa.gov/retiree, and that puts you right into the information for state retirees. And there is a way for you to then, the plan options that we were looking at just a moment ago with the Kaiser and everything else, they give you a way to select those particular plans or the ones that you would like to, and then compare them side by side. So what I would say is, if there's someone here at Horizon House that could help those individuals who aren't comfortable navigating, just taking some time to help them navigate and identify that, it's going to give everybody an opportunity to really try and review that. So, we've been talking about what are we supposed to do? And I think that sounds to me like there's a little bit of an accessibility, trying to make sure that you understand how to compare. And, again, there is an electronic tool. So if we can get help with that and go online, if there's a way for someone to do that, I think that would help with understanding what the differences are. I always talk to all of my clients about gathering information, and this list is just basically the types of things that I review with my clients. I'm going to look at whether or not what your costs are going to be every month, your premiums, whether or not there is a deductible. Does everybody know what a deductible is? When you are responsible for paying out of pocket a certain amount before the health plan will begin to pay towards your costs as well. What benefits are we looking for? So, do you use a chiropractor, and if one plan offers you 20 visits and the other one offers, 47 visits, how does that work? What does that mean to you? Is there something called an out-of-pocket limit? Some plans will specify that if you have health concerns during the year and your expenses reach a certain level, and this tends to be with Medicare Advantage plans, there is something called an out-of-pocket maximum, is what they call it. The acronym for that is MOOP, M-O-O-P, okay? Basically, it means that if your costs reach a certain level during the year, say you went skiing and you had a fall, okay? And you're in hospital and now you're going through physical therapy and everything else, and you've been paying for all of these services. Were it to reach that limit, maybe $3,000 or more or what have you, any time after that, you continue your care and the policy will then pay 100% of your costs for the rest of the calendar year. Now, that provision tends to be with Medicare Advantage plans. So the United Healthcare plan would have that provision included. The Kaiser Permanente plan would have that provision included as well.
Would they ever have the provision that say we won't pay above a certain amount?
No, ma'am. Yeah, great question. You know, can they decide that they're going to stop paying? It used to be that policies used to have that. Medicare doesn't allow for that. So Medicare says for as long as you need care, there is no annual maximum or lifetime maximum that goes along with that. You keep receiving your care, we pay for those services. Your supplemental policy has to follow Medicare's guidelines. And so they have to pay for those as well. There you go.
Well, that's awesome, because sometimes it feels like the insurance companies are making the medical decisions.
Absolutely. And it brings up, you know, another point. It's one of the things that a lot of people talk about with the difference between using original Medicare with a supplemental policy compared to using a Medicare Advantage plan. So remember, Advantage programs are managed by insurance companies. They tend to have and include something called a pre-authorization for services. Maybe for larger ticket items, an MRI or a CAT scan, or maybe it's a surgery where they want to confirm with themselves that they want to spend the money that's necessary for that. Medicare doesn't have that type of provision. And Medicare's guidelines are that as long as Medicare pays for the service, your supplemental or Medigap policy must follow Medicare's guidelines. And that's the reason sometimes people like it, because the inclusion of someone having to make financial decisions for you is kind of eliminated, and it gives you some peace of mind that goes along with that as well.
So what you're saying is, with the uniform medical, if I need an MRI, I can pretty much schedule it without anybody giving what, but if we switch to, let's say, the United, we would have to get authorization first.
Yes, ma'am. In some instances, absolutely. Yeah.
So that might be a reason that they may say, well, we won't authorize it.
That's correct. That's correct. And so a lot of times you then have to, you know, have your doctors help make sure that they present your case.
Yeah.
But
That sounds like it.
well, unfortunately, it's the way that medicine is in the money business, right? So that's one of the ways that they can manage the money, not just spend the money, but they want to make sure that they determine that it's necessary to spend that money. We feel it's necessary as individuals who need to make sure that we understand what's going on with us. But a lot of insurance companies make the decision to decide to make sure that they have done their due diligence to determine.
Can we assume that if the doctor signs off on it, that there's no further secondary signature that they would need?
Unfortunately, no. And that's a part of sometimes the issue with looking at or working with a Medicare Advantage plan compared to working directly with the Medicare program. So yes, the doctors are making the decisions. Your doctor says we need this, but remember that there is an actual insurance company and administrators and those people who want to justify the reasoning for spending the money for that. And they may decide, well, we need further details about why we feel the need to do that, which doesn't make any sense. It's stopping you from getting the care that you need in the timely manner that you need it as well. And it's a part of the rub sometimes that goes along with Advantage plans because, again, it's an insurance company that's making that decision about how the money is being spent for the services. Yeah. All right. Just to let you know, I think we talked a little bit about this. The election period for Medicare is, for the state of Washington is going to be November the 1st through the 30th. So sometime this month in October, you're going to receive your packet of information. Okay? I'd like to make the suggestion that perhaps you find or understand if someone can help with going online with the information to allow people to use that. Yeah, I think that would be a really great way to.
Could maybe do a workshop.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, this is your open enrollment window. If you're not making any changes, sometimes you'll read the information and it may say something to you like, if you don't send us any information, you're going to remain with the current plan that you have. Or it will say, please make sure that you sign this document and send it to us so that we know this is the decision that you made. But if you are making changes, then you need to make sure that you submit your documentation to PEBB no later than the 30th of November so that the new plan change will take effect January the 1st. Does that make sense to everyone? Yeah? All right. And did everybody get a picture of this information as well with the website? Yes, ma'am.
Well, as I listen, the question that comes up is why medical advantage is so popular. It seems like the supplemental plans would be much safer.
No, great question. Why are Medicare Advantage plans more popular than perhaps using a supplemental policy? For one big reason is the price and the cost, and what is being presented to you in a package compared to perhaps what you are going to spend for a supplemental policy. With a lot of my clients, the things that I'm trying to understand for them is what's going to be the best fit for you. We are going to talk about your budget. You may want something, but it may be that it's out of reach for you. So we've got to take that into consideration as well. Advantage plans have positioned themselves to be very, very attractive. Okay? You are going to, some of this information, before you recycle it, take a look at it. It's going to say things like, you can enroll in this plan and not pay a monthly premium. There is a zero premium. So if you are currently enrolled with, we'll pick on the healthcare authority right now, and you're paying upwards of $700 or something, or whatever it may be, for your premium, and someone's sending you something, and it says, I don't have to pay anything, but I can still get access to my doctors, I've got gym membership, I've got transportation benefits, eyeglass coverage, hearing aid benefits, you name it, meals for when you come out of the hospital, and you're thinking to yourself, this sounds too good to be true, right? Well, it kind of is in some regard, but again, do your due diligence. Are my doctors in the network, Can I change to this plan, and is there an opportunity for me to change back? And you kind of have an opportunity to do that within the PEBB because United Healthcare is a Medicare Advantage plan. If you switch to it for 2024 and you don't like it, you can go back to using Uniform Medical the following year because every year you've got an opportunity to make a change.
Oh, so we can. Oh, I thought once we left the regions, we couldn't go back to it.
If you were to completely decide that you were leaving the state benefits, you can't go back to it. But the choices that list of health plans, they are all of the plans that are offered to all state retirees. So it gives you the choice every year to switch from one plan to another if you choose to.
Well, what am I missing? If I'm paying $700 hypothetical for regions and zero for the advantage, am I not paying anything for that?
You are. Everybody does. The way that Medicare Advantage plans work is that the federal government so the federal government budget a certain amount of money for every single person enrolled in Part A and Part B of Medicare nationwide. And that cost varies based on where you live, the state, the county, and the zip code that you live in, right? So here in King County, Medicare will pay upwards of about $1,100, between $1,000 and $1,200 per month. They budget for people who are enrolled in the Medicare program. If you don't enroll in a Medicare Advantage plan, that money remains with the federal government. That's what they use to pay your claims. If you join a Medicare Advantage plan, they are going to pay that company that money every single month, regardless of whether you use it or not.
So you really are not paying any monthly bills for this?
They've designed, that's correct. They have designed, well, whenever you use the services with an Advantage program, they've designed it so you're going to make a co-payment, a fixed cost for it.
Yeah, what percent is that usually?
It varies by company because they're all various. Some companies may have put it together so that if you go see your family doctor using their particular plan, you may not have a cost for a primary care physician visit, but you may pay, $30 to go see a specialist, or each time you go to a physical therapy service, they may charge you, $15, $20 or whatever it is. Every service is going to have a fixed cost that goes along with it. But that way, for some people, they'll see that and they'll go, wow, I can keep all of this money and then use it each time I go to the doctor because me personally, I'm healthy. I don't really need to spend all of that money. But again, it's a choice. You've got to think about yourself, what kind of healthcare services you need, and whether or not you want to make that change. All right. TRICARE, I'm just going to briefly touch on this as well. The federal government manage a specific plan for people who retired from the military, right? And it's called TRICARE. And for those individuals who are enrolled in Medicare, they are going to use what's called TRICARE for Life, which basically works as the supplemental plan and a prescription drug program for people who retired from the military. It's offered globally, okay, because TRICARE and people in the military are all around the world. Make sure that you use doctors that are contracted with Medicare because they will coordinate those benefits for you. If you don't, you may find that you've got out-of-pocket expenses for doctors that don't have contracts with Medicare. And along with medical benefits that are managed, of course, TRICARE do have a pharmacy benefit where you can use pharmacies on post or on the military base, any private pharmacies, and there's a mail order program that they offer to you as well. Last but not least, veterans benefits. For those who may have served in the military for a period of time, you can access and use benefits through the Veterans Administration. And this, of course, is in addition to your private insurance that you have. So you can be enrolled in Medicare, you could have state retiree benefits, you could have your own private insurance coverage. If you served time in the military and you qualified for additional benefits through the VA, you can access them in addition to what you've been receiving as well. The one and only time that most people don't qualify for benefits is if they left the military with a dishonorable discharge. Don't do that. That's not a good idea. All right. So I know that we've been talking quite a bit, and you're thinking to yourself, what am I going to do now? Am I going to remain with my retiree benefits? Look at the options that are available there, which I think is, a good way for you to make sure that you understand what's available to you, okay? If you decided to go outside of the house, if you will, or outside of the retiree plan that you have, then you're looking at perhaps purchasing either a supplemental plan with a prescription drug program or enrolling in a Medicare Advantage plan. You can't do both. It's either or, okay? You either work directly with Medicare and then you buy the supplement with the separate prescription drug program, or you're going to enroll in an Advantage program which combines your Medicare coverage, your prescription drug coverage, all covered under one policy. As I mentioned before, this time of the year is the election period. So And this election period is not, it kind of coincides with the state election period, but this specific election period between October the 15th and December the 7th is for the general population. Those individuals who are enrolled in Medicare would like to review their plan options and then make a change. And if they do so, then their new plan takes effect January the 1st. It just so happens that it coincides with the state of Washington sending you information about reviewing your plans as well. And your window of time to make sure that you submit any changes is a little shorter. It's the month of November, between November the 1st and November the 30th. Does that make sense to everyone? Yeah. All right, are there any other questions about anything before we wrap up? You guys have been great. You asked really, really good questions. And I think it really helped with our all trying to understand all of this. Was this helpful for everyone? Great, okay. Okay. Well, good. Well, I want to say thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me again. I really appreciate it. You are very, very welcome. You are very welcome. I really appreciate your time and your questions. And I know that we've made a video of this. It's been recorded. So if you ever decide that you need to listen to me drone on again, you can do so in private, which will be great. I'm going to leave you and make sure you've got my cards. So if you have questions, here we go. If you've got questions or you need to schedule some time with me, I'd be happy to schedule a phone call with you and kind of go through some information for you as well. But with that, thank you very, very much for your time, and take care. Thanks so much.